Today in the crypto space, we see a bit of a dip throughout the market. Bitcoin holding steady though at about 27,400 give or take, and Ethereum down approximately 1% below that $1,600 mark. The rest of the crypto space, the altcoins are pretty much mixed with green and red. However, there are a few dips here that we need to take advantage of. Let's take a look at Caspa and Radix for an example. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one altcoin, the heavyweight of altcoins, Ethereum. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of that volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel and click that bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Better yet, you can hit me up on those socials. The links are in the description. Guys, feel free to join that Discord. The Discord's a great community. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, learning material, and all that good stuff. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's take a look at what's happening in this market. We see Bitcoin, kind of hesitant, but still dripping down to those lower levels, down approximately 1%. Nothing crazy, but bit by bit, are we going to break those critical levels of support? That's what a lot of us are anticipating, that Bitcoin will lead the way for a further dip to the downside. Ethereum, on the other hand, is continuing its path to the downside. It's down approximately 6% in the last 7 days, while Bitcoin is pretty much holding a bit steadier. Obviously a little bit of a dip, but nothing crazy. And in comparison to Ethereum, we can expect that the Bitcoin right now, Bitcoin is showing dominance over altcoins based on Ethereum's comparison. And overall, we're seeing a lot of these other altcoins, of course, lower caps, mid caps, all the ones that we all are looking for, they're basically bleeding out and they're in a fire sale. So the question is, should we be buying the dip, taking a bit of risk right now as we speak? You know what? I feel like we should be focusing on Ethereum today, and this is why that I decided to make a dedicated video on Ethereum so that we can kind of discuss and see what could be in store for Ethereum, because a lot of the times we can use Ethereum as a leading indication that maybe altcoins could be coming down to lower levels and bleeding out in comparison to Bitcoin. And of course, those of us that are stacked up with stables ready to deploy, maybe even losing its strength against USDT or a stable coin. So in this case, if that were to be the opportunity that we're looking for, we need to be ready to buy those dips on those fire sales. All right, let's continue here. We see BNB getting a bit of a bounce to the upside, 1%. And if we keep on going down, you can see that generally speaking, this market is slowly dripping, slowly coming down to lower levels. Some potentially getting a bit of support, like Altcoin getting a bit of support, but the trend is still to the downside in the immediate short term. So although some projects might be getting a bounce, we are seeing, the overall average still bleeding out. Look at Polygon down another 2.5%. What else do we have here? Chainlink coming down a little bit, breaking that previous low might just be that continuation to the downside that many people are anticipating. And especially with the fact that, altcoins we know are a lot more risk on, in the sense that they're risky, they're volatile, right? We understand that. And then Bitcoin, we know that is a little bit more secure in this case. Crypto in general is volatile. Crypto in general is risky and it's very speculative. But on the spectrum, Bitcoin is the one to be in if you're expecting, some turmoil in the market, whether it be civil unrest, whether it be just traditional TradFi coming down, maybe the traditional stock market coming down. Bitcoin will give you that stability, and this is why I think a lot of individuals are looking to de-risk, maybe scale out of their altcoin positions, just in anticipation that the market could be coming down for a further dip. And this is why we're seeing a lot of these altcoins show weakness. So if you keep on going down, a lot of these altcoins are either continuing to the downside or desperately looking for a little bit of support and maybe getting a bit of a bounce. But generally speaking, you can see, look at Quant coming down. Quant is back at $85 $85, guys. And it tried to get back to the $100 level, but it didn't really do it. So this is where we at with Quant. Maker coming down 7% the last little while. Mantle another 12%. You can see, look at the weekly. The last 7 days. The last 7 days, you can actually get a big picture dip here. Arbitrum 10%. You're getting a 10% discount right now on the ARB. If you keep on going, Caspa 17% dip, guys. This is where we're at with Caspa, guys. If you've been following me on the channel, I've been calling Caspa for a retracement for the last little while. In fact, yesterday I did a dedicated video on Caspa, kind of explaining my thesis, explaining why I expect certain things to happen. And so far, guys, it's kind of playing out. And I'm not gonna celebrate a dip here in the sense that I hope that everybody was able to protect their gains, protect their positions, because when the market comes down, I want to get bullish. Right, I want to celebrate the fact that I can buy Caspa right now with the profit that I took pretty much on the top, and I made that announcement very clear on the Discord and even on the channel. I can now buy my bags back 16% discount, almost 17. So let's see how low Caspa can go for the next little while, and I'll be deploying my capital once again. All right, so let's continue. Algorand coming down to lower levels just ever so slightly. Tezos, look at that whipsaw price action. People getting wrecked for sure. Shorts and longs, everybody's getting wrecked on this Tezos price action. Render's looking good, holding up at least, going sideways. Yes, it did get a bit of a dip, but it's up 3% in the last 7 days. Render at $1.80. I'm expecting Render to come down a little bit more, but no guarantees. The market doesn't guarantee anything, and it doesn't have to. The reality is the market has a mind of its own. The invisible hand does really work in mysterious ways sometimes, so be prepared for any direction, but have a thesis. That's the reality. You need to have a thesis so that you have a somewhat of a conviction. If you have a conviction, follow through, guys. Follow through. Continuation. What else do we have? A lot of continuation possibilities here as we see that we're just getting a bit of a dead cat bounce, testing previous lows. This is very indicative of the entire market right now. Just gold right now. These pegged gold tokens are looking pretty strong. But nonetheless, as we continue scrolling through, we have pretty much a consensus happening here. Look at Curve Dow, 11% dip here. You're getting an 11. Gala Games still continuing to the downside, down 16% in 7 days. Guys, it could be that Gala continues to the downside. You know what? In fact, I am not saying that I'm completely opposed to accumulating more Gala, but I feel like there are other projects within the gaming narrative that still hold bullishness, that don't have any FUD to deal with, that I am actively looking at. Okay, guys? So I'm not saying that DCing into Gala is not a good idea. It's just understand that there is risk associated, especially when the team is kind of crumbling before our eyes. So just be careful here with Gala Games. Don't get too heavy. Position size is the best way to think about it. DYDX getting a bit of a dip, down 7%, and you can see pretty much a lower low will basically confirm this breakdown. I want to look at DYDX tonight. I'm going to put it on my list. Obviously, guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover, join live tonight at 7:30 Eastern, and it'll give you the opportunity to request any projects that you're interested in. I have DYDX right now on the list, and I'll definitely put the request in top priority. Right now, there's a lot of good dips. The question is which ones, right? Which ones? Curve Dow is interesting right now, but it doesn't look like it's trying to get support, and there are many. All right, guys. I know you're here to talk about charts. Let's begin our analysis. Let's take a look at Bitcoin as a leading indication to see what is going on with Bitcoin. Sorry, guys, that's not the Bitcoin price. Let's get into the Bitcoin chart as we speak. We see Bitcoin kind of hesitant. In fact, hesitant is not bad. At least we're going sideways. At least Bitcoin showing us a little bit of strength, and at least this chart is not behaving today. So I'm not sure what we're going to be doing, but we're going to try to refresh this and reload it and see if we can get to a proper chart. Sometimes things don't work out, but Bitcoin right now is definitely working out for us, because if you're holding, you're seeing a bit of stability, and the question is, could we see a continued stable price action here in Bitcoin as it consolidates within this consolidation period? Let's look at this in a little bit more detail. At the end of the day, we see that the RSI on the daily, on the 4-day, is still pretty much in the chop zone, right? We came down and got a bounce and is in the chop zone on the 4-day. Now, what about the daily? The daily getting a bit of a rejection, not in overbought conditions, unfortunately. I like to see volatility. I like to see the momentum get overbought before I get active, but sometimes it doesn't have to happen. It doesn't have to happen. In fact, we can see that the RSI is entering the chop zone once again in the 50% mark, hanging around this level on the RSI. But what's even more interesting is the bearish divergence that we identified a few days back, and it's been hanging out here. we're trying to stay one step ahead of the market. So it's very important that we kind of keep, an eye open for such possibilities. Higher highs on the price action, and look at the MACD, lower lows on these histogram bars. And we are actually looking for an EMA cross as we speak. Now, if we get an EMA cross, we get a red histogram bar to the downside, it's very possible that the price action gets a little bit of a dip, and we see the momentum enter the bearish control zone at these lower levels. So this is the thing here, guys. You got to anticipate that it's very, very possible to get bearish here on Bitcoin, especially if we start breaking below these critical levels of historical support. Now, what I'm talking about is what's super bearish is breaking below 25K. If we break below 25K, it's not looking good for Bitcoin. And you can see we have a bit of a volume gap right here that could act as support in the immediate short term. So let's see what happens with Bitcoin once it gets down to this level. But for now, in my opinion, going long or short is risky. Long, the risk that you're taking is that the momentum actually gets overbought, and then you're going to get wrecked going short. Going long, what about if this bearish divergence actually follows through and we actually roll over and get to the bottom of the range once again? That is unfortunate. Both ways you can see that there's risk, and this is why I am personally choosing to stay away from a trade right now on Bitcoin. I'm looking for other opportunities. I'm looking at altcoins. I'm wondering more about what is happening with Ethereum. So let's jump right into the ETH chart. What's going on with Ethereum, guys? A lot of us are getting a bit bearish on Ethereum. There's a couple of things to be concerned with that we need to address. Number one, the Ethereum foundation is releasing or selling off some of their tokens, guys. It's only I think $2.7 million worth, guys. That's nothing. It's nothing. They're taking profits. They got to pay themselves. They got things to do. They got things to buy. They got operating costs to worry about, and that's the reality. And even if Vitalik sells a bit, it doesn't matter. He's got to eat, right? Everybody's got to eat. And at the end of the day, what about if they're selling in order to buy the dip? It could be very possible, guys. There are traders out there, believe it or not. Okay, so Ethereum at the end of the day, is at a critical level, like the rest of the market is. So just the fact that the Ethereum, foundation is selling a bit of Ethereum tokens doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Many of us could be looking at this as a continuation to the downside, and the fact this could be a bear flag. Got an impulsive wave, a nice consolidation that is retracing. Okay, a bit of a retracement after this impulsive move, and now we got a bit of a corrective move here, and now we're going to get another impulsive wave. Guys, that's unfortunate, right? That would be a very bearish scenario to see, Ethereum slightly around that $500 mark, which is very, very possible given that we have a volume gap right here. Yes, we don't have clear price action looking left, but we do have some confluence with the volume, right? The volume being right around this level. You can see this top, okay, maybe this right here is not full of volume. That's the reality. The volume actually begins right below this volume gap at about 650. That's where we could be getting some support. And another area to watch out for is at about $1,000, guys. That's a very, very important level, given that we have the previous low, some price action right here to act as support, because these wicks don't have much volume, perhaps. Let's see what happens if we exclude that. Nothing. So reality is this price action right here is very low volume, whereas this price action right here is pretty much building the support that we have right here, the supply and demand that we have here on the chart in between 1,000 and about 1,400. So this is something to consider, that we could come down and test this volume gap in the immediate short term, get that capitulation going, be able to buy the dip on the cheap on Ethereum and many other altcoins, because we know Ethereum, being a leading indicator, could basically give us that sign that altcoins could be taking a bit of a dip in the immediate short term. And of course, here on the channel, we'll be taking full advantage of it, buying the dip, scaling in, DCAing, whatever you want to call it. We'll definitely be building a bag to expose ourselves for the next move to the upside, which should be the continuation to the upside for this bull run. That's exactly what we want. We want a confirmation low. Now, at the end of the day, we know that this could be the low, and a confirmation low is possible, double bottom, even an extension level hit, which would be very confluent with the 650 mark. Let's kind of look at that. Swing low to swing high. Yeah, we're pretty much down here. You can see there's a lot of confluence to suggest that we could get down here with this support. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we came down a little bit more and maybe get some support at about 650. I would be interested at 650 for sure. At 1,000, maybe not, because I scaled in quite heavily earlier on around this level. So I'm okay even if we came down to $1,000. But personally, if we came down to 650, I would be interested. I'll buy a bit, and then down here I would be spamming the buy button. That's for sure. At about 500, 480. And I'm almost certain that a lot of individuals in the market would be looking at. Let's look at the daily. You can see a lot of whipsaw price action here on the daily, given the fact that we came down oversold, we barely got overbought, and we're getting a bit of a rejection. Look at this price action in comparison to the momentum. There's no volume, very little to no volume, which is basically a scenario where you're going to see the contraction of the Bollinger Bands and looking for that expansion move, and then we'll pick up a bit of volume. You look at the volume right here. Look at this huge amount of volume in comparison to what we're dealing with right now, and you can see based on the momentum, this move to the upside with regards to momentum barely budged this price action. This price action basically is still going sideways right here. This is a very, very not volatile, not the greatest scenario for trading. However, it is a good scenario for accumulation. Because what about if this becomes the pivot point? What about if we do come down, get the confirmation low, get signs of bullish divergence on larger time frames, and then continue to the upside? And this is what I'm looking for Ethereum. Now, a lot of people are right now very bearish on Ethereum, given the fact, again, you know, there's the price is coming down. There's a sell-off based on the Ethereum Foundation. But look at this. The gas fees are hitting all-time lows right now, which is something to consider, right? You know, something to consider, because right now your transactions are, you know, being very they're pretty much low cost. But once the network gets congested again, expect that those gas fees will, you know, basically get a lot more expensive, and that way trading in Ethereum will be, you know, very difficult. There'll be a lot of friction given trying to get in and out of the market. So always consider your position size. If you're going to get in with a very small position, understand that sometimes the gas fees, especially when the bull market comes around and the gas fees are very expensive, they might even be more expensive than the actual position size that you actually hold. And that's a very unfortunate thing. Okay, guys, so be careful here with your position sizes and your exposure to the Ethereum network, because if you're new and you're only getting in with a very small bag, $50 worth, expect that the gas fees could outperform, and basically just to exit your position, you'll need more tokens, more value, more Ethereum than what you actually made in profit. Okay, so something to consider definitely. But nonetheless here, guys, Ethereum right now is looking really good. It's trying to hold some support. You know, if the market comes down, expect it to take a dip. If Bitcoin does come down, expect it to take a dip. I do feel like this is still not a bad position to get a bit of exposure if you have zero exposure into the market, but ultimately a bit of a dip is very possible. I really do like what the 4 days showing us. A continuation to the downside is very possible, but look at this MACD getting this fake out. This fake out is what's bothering me as well. Look at this, what's happening here. Another red histogram bar to the downside, and keeping these EMAs continued open and facing down like this means that we could get a continuation to the downside and eventually break this trend. Diagonal trends are not as strong as horizontals, and you can see that we're currently entering a horizontal level of potential support. Okay, the volume gap, this area right here that's confluent with this golden pocket 618 retracement from the bottom to the top, and then finally getting here, which is a very good reactive spot to get, and then we can break below previous lows and see if we can break some structure. If we do come down, guys, anticipate fire sales throughout this market, and that's about it, guys. If I do see anything interesting here in the Ethereum price, expect an update. Make sure that you join, subscribe, and click the bell so that you don't miss out on any of my future updates. But guys, join the Discord. The Discord is a great place to get updates throughout the day. Great alpha, good community, lots of good setups and fundamentals. Check it out, guys. I'll see you tonight at 7:30 Eastern. Have a good one, and don't forget, buy the dip.